right knee, correct?
I'm not sure. I just know that they're going to take him up and evaluate him later today.
Just talk about what you saw on that play and what happened after that.
Well, all I saw was he was on the ground, and they're going to evaluate him up in Charlotte.
What does he mean to this locker room, and how do you get back to practice after kind of an emotional?
Well, it was tough, to be honest with you, Jordan. It really was. We were kind of floating a little bit right there, especially on the offensive side. You could see it and you could sense it and feel it. It's one of those things. You know, it takes a little bit of the wind out of your sail for a little bit. But I thought they bounced back. In all honesty, after that period was over, we refocused. We had special teams, then we had our install, and then you could see them refocus and came back to life. But it was a tough one. Daryl's a solid young man. He's been here from the beginning. You know that. He's a big part of what we do, and hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. In the meantime, Taylor's going to have to step up and take advantage of this opportunity to get better.
How much does that mean to have Taylor if you're going to lose Daryl for a little
Well, you know, it's one of those things. It's part of the reason why he was brought here, was to be a backup and eventually work into an opportunity to become a starter. And he's going to have a chance now to show us what he's capable of. And yeah, he'll take advantage of it, I believe. He's worked very hard. You know, he spent the spring and summer here getting ready for training camp, and so hopefully he'll be able to pick up the slack. And who knows? We'll keep our fingers crossed and keep our prayers going for Daryl.
Do you feel for a guy like Daryl, knowing how kind of hard he worked to get to this point?
Oh, most certainly. And again, when you get a guy and you develop him and you watch him grow, it's always hard to see something like that happen. And it's true for any of our players. You know, it's tough. And these guys work very hard and they have a goal in mind. And you know, when something does happen like this, it is upsetting. But hopefully we have some guys that will step up and take advantage of the opportunity right now.
Switching gears for a second, these defensive backs, what have you seen out of Cornelder, actually, after him not being able to really move much last year?
Well, you know, and again, watching him on tape, and just being the first day in pads, I like the movement. I like what we got out of him yesterday. I saw some really good things. It's been a while for him, and it's good to see him moving on. We had a couple other guys that took advantage of some opportunities today as well. So it's been an exciting day as far as they're concerned. A lot of guys made plays on the ball, and I really am anxious to watch the tape so I can study a little bit closer.
He and Rashawn Golden were high school rivals. Something in the water out there, I guess. And Jalen Ramsey went to the same high school as well, and they all trained together this summer. And knowing that they took that so seriously, kind of Corn in his redshirt year and Rashawn in his freshman season, quote unquote.
I think it's important if you can find guys that you can relate to, you can work with. You know, I know Captain Munderland went to LA and worked with a group of veteran guys that he knows, and he and I talked about it. He said, just somebody else I know and somebody to do something different. He thought it was a good experience. So, when you get together with a group of people, you learn to push each other. And I think it was, yesterday he asked about what it meant when Cam took the guys up to Baltimore. Well, I think that's probably the biggest sense of it, Jordan, is that these guys get together and they can push one another.
Ron, is that something you did as a player, whether it was with teammates or, I doubt, opposing team members, go and work out with them over the summer?
What's interesting is the only time you ever really worked with anybody else from another team is really when you went back to your alma mater. When you were there hanging out, working out, there'd be guys from other teams that would be there in the locker room, and you'd run together, stuff like that. But for the most part, in my career, I was always working out with the guys that were on my team, that were with the Bears, and that was kind of a cool thing because you did build a closer bond together when you spent a little time working out and slaving through the hot summer days trying to get yourself ready to play football.
When you look for a replacement at this left guard position, what does a guy do to set himself apart from the rest of the pack?
Well, I think if it's more so than anything else, it's being very consistent. And I know I've used that word a lot in the past as well, but I just think that's probably the biggest thing. You can't really come out to make a lot of mistakes. You're not looking for a guy that's going to be explosive one play and then be confused the next. You want a guy to be very, very consistent, and then add the rest of the parts together. Whether he's a quality backup, a quality pass protector, or he's a quality run defender. But you want a guy that is consistent.
Guards have to come off the line a lot different than tackles do. Can you get into that a little bit?
Things happen a little bit quicker inside the ball, closer to the ball. The more inside you get in the line of scrimmage, the quicker things do happen. And it's the most immediate route to the quarterback. So they've got to be stout and physical. At the same time, they've got to be very smart on the inside because so much happens in terms of line stunts and linebacker stepping into the mix.
When you had a turnover in the secondary like you had, how helpful is it to have a guy like
Monterey, not only from his knowledge standpoint, but also it seems like he has the kind of personality that can really help chemistry come about quickly.
Well, you know, it is important to have a chemistry guy, somebody that can get everybody together and on the same page, and he's done a nice job of it. I mean, Mike Adams is a guy that's done a great job as well. He's really trying to bring these guys together. We've got a group of new guys that have come in that are trying to feel their way through, you know, and Cersei and Ross Cockrell. I mean, these are guys that have played in this league, have had success, and you know, when they start feeling their way through and start being more comfortable, I think guys like that can also help and direct this group of guys. You know, the guy that's been really consistent, had a good day today, was James Bradbury. And very good to see that. You know, he made some plays on the ball. He's really worked hard. He had a good off season, had a good spring for us. So again, having guys like that, create a little consistency and continuity in that secondary would be really good for us.
Ron, what is your initial assessment of Dante Jackson? Looks fast.
Looks fast is about right. He is fast. He's, you know, I love his confidence level. You know, we hadn't had a guy like that since Josh Norman, and Josh was a very integral part of us getting to the Super Bowl. We have a young man now that can become an integral part of what we want to do as we go forward as a football team.
Do you see that brashness?
Yes,
you heard it?
Certainly. I see it, and I hear it, and it's good to see. I mean, again, you just got to remember, you got to back it up.
Coach, it seems like Wes Horton has always kind of been that third guy in the defensive end market, moving on up. Is he kind of ready for a little bit more of a spotlight this year?
Well, yes and no. I mean, again, we still have Julius, and we still got Mario. You know, those are two guys that are very dynamic for what we do. What Wes gives you is a very consistent football player, that guy that you know you can count on, that's going to be there, that's going to do his job. He may not be flashy, but he's going to do his job, and that's probably one of the things that you've got to have is you've got to have a number of role players, guys that fit specific roles, and Wes does that for us, and he does it very well.
You guys ran the Oklahoma drill for the first time.
No, we didn't run the Oklahoma drill.
Oh, it wasn't Oklahoma?
No, it wasn't Oklahoma drill.
Oh.
Okay.
What happened in that huddle at the beginning of practice?
We got together.
Oh, okay.
You guys going against each other though, Norton and Mann?
Yes, we had guys come up and compete against one another. It was just an extended version of our 9-on-7.
Ron, first time in a while for these guys to get the pads on, though, just generally. I mean, what were your impressions of just how the practice went?
I think the practice went very well. I mean, again, with the exception of what happened with Daryl. But, you know, the biggest thing more so than anything else is the guys were out there. There were some really good things that happened. Some guys played very heads-up football out there and made some plays. And that's the biggest thing. Is, you know, we put that tape on. We want to see who's making plays. I thought the quarterback continued to be consistent. You know, every now and then he tried to force one downfield, make something happen. And that's a plus, you know, and then other times he took what the defense was giving. That's one of the things that we're looking for, is to see him being more and more consistent.
Ron, this news is a couple days back, but Dave Gettleman's cancer is in remission. What's your analysis of what he went through and what he meant?
Well, very happy for Dave, and we'll continue to pray for his recovery. You know, we've been texting back and forth, and I'm just very happy for him and his family. Really, I mean, dude does a great job, works very hard. And you know, just knowing that you know, that the prognosis was good to begin with, and so far things have been falling into place. That's a blessing. So we'll continue to keep him in our thoughts and prayers. But very happy for that.
Ron, what do you see out of Cam so far that makes you feel comfortable that what Norris teaching him is starting to sink in?
Well, again, he's been very consistent, and that's one of the biggest things. He's taking what the defense gives him. He's throwing the ball underneath. The nice thing about getting the ball underneath is you get into the hands of guys that can make plays from there. Whether it's Christian, whether it's CJ, whether it's Cameron Artis-Payne, whether it's Greg, whether it's DJ. I mean, that's one of the things that you've got to do is know when to take your shots, when to go ahead and throw it downfield. And I think that's one of the things that he's learning, and I think a big part because of the emphasis that Norris putting on specific things. He's done a nice job. He's listened very well, and he's still going to do things that Cam does. But at the same time, you know, you're adding a little bit more to what he does and how he does it.
Talk a little bit about Mike Adams, but how good is it to have him, especially with Kurt Coleman gone?
You know, that's one of the tough things is, you know, guys come and go, and the one thing you always want to be able to do is have something consistent there. And, you know, again, having a guy like Mike Adams back there brings a little consistency and a little continuity to that secondary. You know, Kurt was terrific for us. He was a leader back there. You've seen Mike step up and do the things that you need to do, especially as a veteran safety in your secondary. So just real happy with what we've gotten from Mike, and you know, expect it to continue.